Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to tackle those tough cause and effect questions researchers face.
Oh, yeah. Those are always tricky.
And we'll be exploring how they figure those things out using something called experimental vignette methodology.
EVM.
That's right, EVM. It's like this secret weapon researchers use to figure out why people do what they do.
Especially for things that are like kind of sensitive or would be impossible to study in real life.
Exactly. Like,
Hmm.
think about trying to study, um, you know, a workplace romance that turns sour.
Ooh, yeah.
Not something you can easily observe ethically.
Nope, definitely not.
But with EVM, researchers can actually create these like mini experiments to see how people might react.
It's like they design these little stories almost to test their theories in a safe and controlled way.
So for this deep dive, we'll be looking at a 2014 article by Herman Guinness.
The Guinness rhymes with beer.
That's right, Rise with Beer, and Kyle J. Bradley.
Sounds like a good pairing.
The article is called Best Practice Recommendations for Designing and Implementing Experimental Vignette Methodology Studies.
Quite a mouthful.
It is, but it's packed with insights on how researchers use EVM to study all sorts of fascinating things.
So at its core, EVM is all about presenting people with these carefully constructed scenarios.
They call them vignettes, right?
Exactly. Vignettes, and then they observe how people respond to them.
Yeah.
It's a bit like giving someone a choose-your-own-adventure book.
I love that analogy.
But, for research.
So it's all about understanding the why behind people's choices.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that EVM can be used to study both the decisions we make consciously,
The ones we can explain.
right, and those that are driven by, subconscious factors.
Like gut feelings.
Exactly. Gut feelings, hidden biases, things we might not even realize are influencing us.
So how do they do that? How do researchers actually use EVM to get at both those explicit and implicit drivers of behavior?
Well, there are two main approaches. The first is what we call paper-people studies.
Paper people.
Yeah. These studies focus on those explicit responses, the things people can clearly articulate and explain.
Like how someone might react to a demanding boss.
Right. Or a super competitive coworker.
Okay, so the vignette would present like a scenario with that demanding boss. And then researchers would just ask participants directly, how would you respond?
Precisely. And then they can analyze those responses to understand the factors that are driving those conscious decisions.
Makes sense. What about the second approach?
Ah, that's where things get even more interesting. It's called policy capturing, or sometimes conjoint analysis.
Okay, those sound a bit more complex.
They are a bit more nuanced because they're trying to dig deeper into those implicit processes, the ones that happen beneath the surface.
The subconscious stuff.
Exactly. Think about an entrepreneur facing a risky business decision.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do they figure out those hidden biases or gut feelings that even the entrepreneur themselves might not be fully aware of?
Well, with policy capturing, the vignette might present a series of decisions, each with different levels of risk and potential reward.
So like manipulating the variables.
Exactly. And by carefully analyzing how participants choose, researchers can uncover those subtle factors that drive those seemingly instinctual decisions.
Even if the participants can't fully explain why they made a specific choice.
Precisely. It's like researchers are playing detective, piecing together the puzzle of human behavior, even the parts we don't fully understand ourselves.
That's amazing. And I imagine there are some ethical advantages to using this method as well, right?
Absolutely. EVM allows researchers to tackle sensitive topics, things that would be impossible or even unethical to study in real-world settings.
Like that workplace romance example we talked about earlier.
Exactly. The article actually mentions a study from 2000 by Pearson, Guinness, and Adams that looked at how people perceive a workplace romance after it dissolves into a sexual harassment claim.
Whoa. Yeah. Imagine trying to study that in a real company.
It would be incredibly difficult and potentially re-traumatizing for those involved.
So EVM provides a way to explore those situations without putting anyone at risk.
Right, and it lets researchers control the variables to really isolate what's going on.
It's such a useful tool, but it makes me wonder, why isn't EVM used more often?
That's the million-dollar question. The article's literature review found that EVM is only used in about 1% of published management research.
Seriously. That's surprisingly low, considering how versatile and powerful it seems to be.
It is surprising, right? So the question is why? Why is it so underutilized?
Well, there are a few possible explanations.
It could be a lack of awareness. Maybe some researchers just aren't familiar with EVM or haven't really considered its potential.
Yeah, that's possible. But this article we're discussing, it does such a good job of laying out a clear roadmap for designing and implementing EVM studies. I mean, it even breaks down those key decisions researchers need to make, like step by step.
You're right. It's very thorough. Like, it even gets into the specifics of choosing the right EVM approach.
Hmm.
Whether a paper-people study or policy capturing design would be more suitable.
So it depends on the research question.
Exactly. It's all about matching the method to the question.
And speaking of design choices, they also talk about different ways to structure the vignettes themselves.
Oh, yeah, like between person, within person, or mixed designs.
I have to admit, those terms always trip me up. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. So in a between-person design, each participant only sees one version of the vignette. Like, let's say we're studying leadership styles.
Okay.
One group might see a vignette with an authoritarian leader, while another group gets one with a more democratic leader, and then researchers compare the responses between those groups.
So it's about seeing how different people react to different scenarios.
Exactly. Now, within-person designs are a bit different because each participant actually sees multiple versions of the vignette, each with slight variations.
Oh, interesting.
So sticking with the leadership example, the same participant might see vignettes depicting different leadership styles and then provide their reactions to each one.
So it's about seeing how the same person responds to different situations.
You got it. And then a mixed design kind of combines elements of both.
I see. So researchers have a lot of flexibility in how they design their EVM studies.
A lot of flexibility, and the article emphasizes how important it is to carefully consider these design choices because the choice of design really depends on the research question and the kind of insights they're hoping to uncover.
It's like tailoring a suit. You need the right fit for the occasion.
Perfect analogy.
And speaking of fit, they also discuss this idea of immersion, making the vignettes feel more realistic. That seems pretty crucial, right?
Right.
Like if the scenario feels fake, the responses might not be very meaningful.
Oh, absolutely. The level of immersion can significantly impact the validity of the findings, and this is where technology can really play a role.
The article even mentions using video vignettes.
It's amazing.
I can see how that would make the scenarios more engaging and lifelike. It's like stepping into a movie rather than just reading a script.
Exactly. Remember Sauer's 2011 study on leadership? He used video vignettes, and the results were incredibly insightful. And just think about the potential of virtual reality. We could create truly immersive experiences that capture the nuances of real-world situations.
Wow, yeah, that would be incredible.
It would allow researchers to explore complex social dynamics in a safe and controlled environment.
It's like we're on the verge of taking EVM to a whole new level. But I imagine creating those highly immersive scenarios could get pretty complicated and expensive.
That's true. There are trade-offs to consider. Researchers need to weigh those costs against the potential benefits, and the article actually provides some great advice on striking that balance. They delve into the nuances of choosing the right variables to manipulate the number of vignettes to present, and even the logistics of administering the study.
So they've thought of everything. But even with the perfect design, you still need the right participants, right? You can't just study a group of college students and expect those findings to apply to the entire workforce.
You're absolutely right. The article highlights this challenge and emphasizes the need for diverse and representative samples. They even suggest leveraging online platforms like eLansing to recruit participants from a wider range of backgrounds.
Ah, so it's all about making sure your sample reflects the population you're trying to understand.
Exactly. And speaking of practical considerations, the article even offers tips on the setting and timing for administering the vignettes.
Oh, like where and when to conduct the study.
Yeah, you wouldn't want people being distracted or rushing through the scenarios.
That makes sense. Ideally, participants should be in a focused environment to minimize distractions and potential biases.
Right. It's all about creating the optimal conditions for thoughtful responses.
Okay, so we've got the design, the participants, the setting. What about the analysis? Like once you've collected all this data, how do you make sense of it?
Well, the article goes into some detail on the statistical techniques used to analyze EVM data, specifically something called multi-level modeling.
Multi-level modeling.
Yeah,
That sounds a bit intimidating. Can you give me the ELI 5 version?
Sure. So in simple terms, multi-level modeling is a way to account for the fact that responses within a vignette are nested. You know how in a within-person design, the same person sees multiple scenarios?
Yeah.
Well, their responses to those different scenarios are likely to be correlated. Multi-level modeling allows researchers to tease apart those relationships and get a clearer picture of the factors driving the observed patterns.
Ah, so it's like acknowledging that each individual brings their own unique perspective and experiences to the study. It's not just about the scenarios themselves, but also how people interpret and respond to them.
Exactly. And finally, the article emphasizes the importance of transparency in reporting EVM findings. Researchers need to be upfront about their methods and make their materials available to others.
So it's about fostering collaboration and building on each other's work.
Exactly. It's how science progresses. And what's really exciting is that the article goes beyond just providing guidance on how to do EVM well. It paints this compelling picture of the future of this methodology and its vast potential applications.
So where could EVM go from here?
They highlight some really intriguing areas where EVM could make a significant contribution, like studying counterproductive work behaviors, corporate social responsibility, and even entrepreneurial decision-making.
Those are all areas where traditional research methods might struggle to capture the complexity of what's really going on.
Exactly. EVM offers a unique lens to delve deeper into those nuanced processes.
It's like having a high-powered microscope for human behavior.
I love that analogy. And with advancements in technology like virtual reality and online participant recruitment, the possibilities for EVM are truly expanding.
It's like we're on the cusp of a new era of research with the potential to unlock even deeper insights into human behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're on the brink of something big with EVM.
And the applications are so diverse. I mean, think about it. We could study things that were previously impossible to research.
Right, get insights into those tricky gray areas of human behavior.
Exactly. And what's exciting is that the article calls for more research on EVM itself. There's still so much we can learn about how to refine and optimize this methodology.
Make it even more powerful.
Exactly, to really unlock its full potential.
And they specifically mention the potential of virtual reality to create those truly immersive experiences. Can you imagine a study where participants can actually feel the pressure of an entrepreneurial decision?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Experience the emotional weight of those choices.
That level of realism could lead to some groundbreaking findings.
It would take EVM to a whole new level.
And think about the ethical implications as well. Virtual reality could allow us to study sensitive topics in a safe and controlled environment.
Right? Push the boundaries of what's possible in research without putting anyone at risk.
It's like opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
This deep dive has been amazing. It really makes you realize that sometimes the most effective way to understand complex human behavior is through these carefully crafted stories.
It's true.
These little windows into the human experience.
It is fascinating how something as simple as a story can unlock such profound insights. EVM allows researchers to isolate variables, explore causal relationships, and ultimately gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the incredible world of experimental vignette methodology.
It's a powerful tool.
Who knew that carefully crafted stories could hold the key to unlocking some of the biggest mysteries in human behavior?
It's clear that EVM has immense power both in its current applications and its exciting potential for the future. It's a reminder that we're always learning, always finding new ways to explore the complexities of human nature.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, I'm left with this thought-provoking question that the authors posed. Could EVM be the key to bridging the gap between individual actions and those big, large-scale organizational outcomes?
That's a really interesting question.
How might EVM help us understand the decision-making processes that shape our workplaces, our economies, even our society as a whole?
It's definitely a lot to think about.
But that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. They spark curiosity, challenge our assumptions, and leave us with more questions than answers.
That's the beauty of knowledge. It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
Well said. This deep dive is just the beginning. Now it's your turn to keep exploring. What other intriguing questions could EVM help us answer? The possibilities are truly endless. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.